Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I want to share with you another recent completed build. So this is just something that I built up and, well, actually I built it up a while ago. I mean, I prepped it for painting and painted it up and did a little bit of weathering, a little bit of decal work and everything on that recently. And it was just kind of a quick little project, but I really like how this came out. So of course this is the HG Obsidian Fury kit from Bandai's line of Pacific Rim kits. So recently I plucked this off the shelf and just wanted to do a quick paint job on it, but the first thing that I was faced with, the first problem I was faced with was figuring out a color scheme. I didn't want to stick with just the black color scheme. Although the kit and just like the design does look really good in black, it was really tempting to just kind of keep it in black or do it like a matte black or something like that, or a mix of matte and gloss black. Could have been cool. Or doing something kind of more or like ornamental, doing it in like gold or like silver or something like that could have been pretty cool as well. And honestly, I could see myself in the future maybe just picking up another one of these kits at some point and painting it again in a different color scheme, because there's a lot of really cool color schemes I think could work for this. But ultimately, the color scheme that, or the inspiration for this color scheme was actually the full armor Gundam. So I don't know what my thought process was exactly at the time. I don't remember, but something, for some reason, I thought, yeah, the full armor Gundam colors could look cool, because I think they could just kind of look cool on anything. That dark green with the white and orange accents just looks really cool. So that was the inspiration for the color scheme, and I knew I wasn't really going to be painting a whole lot of orange. I was going to be mostly relying on just like a little bit of detail painting and the decals for the bright orange. So you can see that on there. The bigger decals, just like on the arm and on the upper shoulder, are the really bright ones. Those are actually from a different decal set, and all the small little decals are from a different decal set from HIQ, where I think those don't have a white pre-printing under the orange, so it's not quite as bright. So all the little ones aren't really very bright, and so they don't really look very bright orange. They actually look kind of gold on the finished kit, which is kind of okay. But I ended up actually kind of liking that, because I kind of like how they're not super apparent. Just like the big numbers and like the little hints of painted orange really stand out, and then you have all the other little decals on there as well, but they're not like really like crowding the design, because it's a design that has a lot of details molded into it. It's a very detailed kit. So you know, having all of the decals really popping out, I think maybe could have made it look a little bit too messy, but it ended up being so that the majority of the decals just kind of like blend in with the kit there. So it looks really nice. I'm actually really excited about how that came out. So a couple other things about the painting. For the main color, obviously I just used a dark green color from Mr. Color, but for all like the frame and joint parts and for the chainsaw parts there, basically everything that's in like that kind of metallic gray, I actually used the Mr. Metallic Color Dark Iron for that. And it's actually mixed with a kind of dark gray as well, so it's not just that color by itself. But the cool thing about the Mr. Metallic colors is that they have this aspect to it that once the paint is cured and dry, you can like rub it with a cloth and it will basically give you like sort of like a dry brushed effect. It'll kind of like make the edges shiny where you kind of buff that with a cloth. So it's a really cool effect. And I also later on in the process I did do some dry brushing on this as well, but if you look in really close, I mean it's just the kind of thing that's just really subtle, but like it does look really good. I mean, when you see it, it does look really nice. I mean, if you saw this, the parts that were buffed compared to the parts that were not buffed, you can definitely see a difference. And I want to do like a demonstration video on that later to show that to you guys in more detail. It's a really cool effect, and it's maybe something that maybe people don't really know about that particular line of paints. I didn't know that actually until just recently, so it's something that I'd heard about, so I wanted to test it out with this, and actually came out really well. So once all the base color was down and those joint parts and everything were all buffed and looking really nice, then I just went in and did some detail painting, painted in a lot of the little details on, especially like on like the frame parts and things like that, in some, I think it was titanium silver for that, just some enamel titanium silver. It's a nice silver. I've talked about it before because I like how it really pops and it really goes down really nicely. And then not the decals, but the little tiny bits of orange that are painted onto the kit. There's a few there on like the front, and then on the front of the thighs and on the back of the biceps. Those little bits were just painted with orange, but I actually painted white first and then painted the orange on top of that, so it made those really pop, so those would stand out really nicely. And then after the decals were done, then like I said, I did do some dry brushing. So if you guys saw in my recent video from Shizuoka, I think it was part 2, at the end of the part 2 video, there was a demo with the Meijin Kawaguchi, with the Katsumi Kawaguchi. He did a demo about like dry brushing. Basically, I don't think it was really much of a demo. It was more of just like he was there and he wanted to personally try out the paints, the Gaia enamel paints. So he just kind of did an impromptu demo, just basically for himself to have the opportunity to try out the paints. So he did that, and I had some video of that in my video showing his kind of little demo there about dry brushing, and it just got really inspired me. I've known about dry brushing for a long time. I've tried it a little bit here and there on just like some scrap parts, and I've never really felt very confident with it, but after seeing his demo and trying it out there at the demo, and trying it out on a few scrap pieces now, after I've kind of felt a little bit more motivated, a little bit more confident in that, after kind of seeing it firsthand from the master himself, I was feeling a little bit more confident, and I decided to try it on the whole thing on this, and I'm really pretty happy with how it came out. I really like it. I tried to make it just really subtle, so you can definitely see it in some places where it's a little bit thicker, but just like around on the kit, I just went for this really subtle look with the dry brushing, and that is also just in the same titanium silver color that I used for just picking out the details of the frame. So you can see that around in different areas, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that came out, especially because this is like pretty much my first time really doing like full-on dry brushing on a kit. I've done some like chipping on kits before in like a different technique, but this I went for trying a new technique, and I'm really happy with how it came out. And then after all of that was done, I did do a little bit of filtering on there as well, mostly on like the lower half, on like the legs. I did that. I didn't really do anything on the upper half actually in terms of filtering, so I just wanted it to be a little bit sort of realistic in that fact that it would be kind of a little bit dirtier on like the lower half, was like actually closer to the ground, of course. So it's also very subtle, and that's kind of the whole thing. I'm not like weathering in general and like battle damage and things like that is just not something that I'm really too personally into for my builds, but I do really like the very subtle weathered look that honestly, like, Naoki is a really good master of this. And so it's a style that I really like that just has a little bit of weathering to it. It just looks like it's been in use, but it doesn't have like this super weather look to it. It doesn't look very obviously weathered. Like if you look at this from a distance, it doesn't look like it's a weathered build, but it's only like when you look up close and you kind of can really start to see some of that detail. So really happy with how it came out. It's not perfect by any means. There's definitely still lots of room for improvement and practice over time, but it's a really good right first step, and it really helped me kind of feel more confident in doing it more in the future. So it's definitely something I'm going to be trying out more in future builds, and especially as I'm starting to work on a lot more matte K stuff recently as well. Obviously weathering is kind of a big part of that, and it's like I said, I'm not really super into getting like really heavy with the weathering, but just practice always makes for improvement. So that's pretty much it for this build. I am planning on selling this build, so if you're interested in buying it, do just get in touch with me. The best way to do that would be through Facebook Messenger. If you're interested in buying it, just hit me up there. And I guess I should point out other things aside from the kit itself. I just mounted it on this just very simple, just kind of reddish stained base. I didn't stain this myself or paint it myself or anything, or even make it myself. I just bought it. I don't even remember where I bought it from at the moment. I had it for a while, and I just thought it really worked well on this. It's kind of just the perfect size for that, and the color looks nice with the color of the suit, so I think it was a good match for that. So pretty simple. And as far as its accessories, I guess you could say, I like it exactly like this. So ideally, you know, whoever ends up buying it, this is kind of, you know, the way that I would like it to be displayed, but I do have all the other accessories all painted up here with this as well. Here are the other hands, the open left hand and the closed fist right hand, so if you wanted to change those up. And then for the other chainsaw options, so if you wanted to have double chainsaws, they're both painted up with just the silver tips on the end there like that, like what I've got there on the kit now. And then for the clear ones, I left one just totally plain clear, if you like that, or one I did mask, so it's just clear around the edges. And I thought that would end up looking cool. Honestly, not really as impressed with how that ended up looking. I think if you had this displayed with some UV light or something on it where this clear would really glow, then that would look more cool, but as is, this doesn't really look quite as impressive. I think I just like it just the metallic one like it's got on there. So just the kind of inactive form of the chainsaw, I guess, like that, but still looking pretty cool. So that is it for the Obsidian Fury. What do you guys think of it? Do you have any ideas for some different name to give it? I feel like Obsidian Fury doesn't really fit so much now that it's not black anymore, but I'm not really too concerned about giving it a different name. Honestly, I'm just happy with how the kit came out, so that's the important thing. And the other good news is that I've recently, like, not only finished this, but I've recently finished like 3 or 4 kits, like all right around at the same time. So you guys will be seeing some more completed builds from me in the very near future. I just need to get those in front of the camera as well. So yeah, it just kind of ended up working out that I finished like 4 kits at the same time kind of thing. So that is always feels good to get some stuff just kind of done and dusted. So now it's just getting them documented on YouTube for you guys and sold off so they can go off to find a new home. So that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.